Wow. I mean, seriously, wow. The Canon EOS R5 sounds like it's going to be insane. This camera is offering, this has got to be the most aggressive move that I have seen Canon make in years on trying to corner the camera market. They have been stingy with their specs. They are not being stingy here. We don't know exactly what the price point is yet, but rumors suggest that it would be very affordable, below the price point of the Canon 1DX Mark III, which recently came out. This thing sounds insane. This could be the game changer. This could be the thing that levels the playing field of camera manufacturers to offer insane specs for crazy affordable prices. I want to break it down. Let's talk about this. I want to go into some of these key features.
In a world where nuclear war has begun, vampires fought back in super real 3D.
Hi guys, my name is Ash Von Chamier. I'm the owner of Rough Cut Productions. I'm based in Tallahassee, Florida. This channel, however, is dedicated to me just offering tips and tricks, different methods that I've figured out with filming and editing over the last 17 years of running this business. And I like talking about cameras too. So the Canon EOS R5, I have the Canon EOS R. I've been very happy with it. It does have a few drawbacks, all of which have been addressed in the new EOS R5. Now, this camera's not out yet, and this camera doesn't even have footage out yet that we can see, but based on the idea that it's supposed to be an even better image sensor than what the EOS R offered, sounds very enticing, because the EOS R can offer a pretty spittin' image. But let's talk about what this camera offers that are insane advancements. All right, right out of the gate, this is not just a 4K camera. This is an 8K camera. An 8K camera. What kind of price point are we talking about to own an 8K camera from Canon? Well, we don't know, but the idea floating around is that this will probably come in somewhere around $3,500. It's a very small mirrorless camera. This has got to come in under the price that the Canon 1DX Mark III is, because that's kind of like the next tier up. That's a $6,500 camera that they recently released. That's a DSLR offering raw video, of which this does as well. This offers 8K raw, up to 30 frames per second, but I've never used that. I would only use 24. And then, that, by the way, that is uncropped. One of my biggest issues with the Canon EOS R that I have now, which is a great camera. It's a fantastic little camera to buy. But one of my biggest gripes about it is that what everyone complains about. It crops in when you go into 4K by 1.7. So it's a pretty extreme crop. I mean, that's gonna really close in on your footage. You have to use very wide lenses. It forced me to have to buy a 16 to 35 millimeter lens so I could get a wide enough image that's gonna get me at 16 millimeters on the Canon EOS R. That puts me at roughly 27 millimeters. That's crazy, right? A 16 millimeter lens, that's really the roughly equivalent of like a 27 millimeter lens. So you want uncropped. This offers that. Uncropped, 8K video shooting at up to the 30 frames per second, 4K filming at up to 120 frames per second, uncropped as well. It's in 10-bit color, which is another tough thing that I had about the Canon EOS R. The current one is only 8 bits. You can get it to 10 bits by using an external recorder, but this little camera is gonna record 10-bit 4K up to 120 frames per second in 10-bit color? There's another feature listed on here that I want more information on this, but it's HDR-PQ recording. So in theory, it might do something where it's recording 2 exposure levels at the same time, and then I don't know if you need to use software in post to marry those together. Red does do something like that. You actually have an HDR mode where you are filming 2 things at once. There can't be much motion in it. It's kind of, and the camera itself has to be pretty locked down. You wouldn't be able to use the HDR mode very effectively on a moving shot because you're just gonna have a lot of motion blur. But basically it is taking 2 different exposure values, it's recording 2 streams at once, and then there's software that you actually combine those together in, and you kind of choose which way you want to flex it for the maximum amount of dynamic range. This camera seems to offer some form of that. It also has in-body camera stabilization, and apparently it works in conjunction with your lens's stabilization if your lens offers that. It's also got the dual pixel autofocus, which is, Canon is like notoriously known for the best autofocus, the fastest autofocus. Now the other camera manufacturers are getting way better at it, and I haven't gotten to do any side-by-side tests, but I know moving from older Sony cameras over to the Canon systems that the autofocus is definitely better of what I have experienced. But they have improved it even more for the 1DX Mark III and have carried that same new technology over to this camera as well. And again, the 1DX Mark III, this is a $6,500 camera. This camera, the Canon EOS R5, should come in under $4,000. Now, if it does not do that, they are gonna get a lot of disappointed fans out there. I think that they're ready to just go ahead and level the playing field, which is very unusual for Canon. Canon has notoriously been very stingy with specs that they offer in their cameras. They have so many different camera lines that they tend to, the guess here is that they don't want to cannibalize their other lines. Canon EOS R only has a single card slot. This has dual card slots, so you can have a backup recording happening. That's fantastic. Feels so good to have that. And then on top of all those features, you're still gonna have your articulating LCD screen. The new 1DX, it does not have a flip out LCD, which if you're vlogging or, I don't even care if you are vlogging, having a flip out LCD where you can pitch it at different directions is huge. When you go to low angles and the screen is just mounted to the back of the camera and you've got to physically lay your body sprawled out on the ground to try and look through it, that's annoying. Having a little flip out LCD that you can just pitch up at your face and hold it low is great. Then you can flip it all the way around and then look at yourself in it and make sure that you're in focus and everything's working. There's an additional pet tracking, what does it say? It's a detection of animals will also be possible for the first time in a Canon camera. That's amazing. Until now, you haven't been able to film animals with Canon cameras. I have always wanted to film my pets, and I was always wondering why they wouldn't show up in the footage, but looks like they've resolved the issue finally, so go Canon. And this is all gonna fit in your hands like this. And you can take this on a plane with you. It's gonna lead to a lot of questions how this kind of thing is gonna affect the market. Now, I'm not saying that other camera manufacturers aren't offering really good specs too. Sony notoriously offers that many more spec options for the cameras that they deliver. But the thing is that Canon's got this color science that everyone loves, and they call that the Canon look. You're getting a fully articulating screen, which Sony still hasn't quite pulled off, I don't know why. You get the color science of that Canon look. It's significantly easier to use than most camera systems. I know that the Blackmagic cameras are supposed to be very, very intuitive, but Blackmagic cameras, what I've seen, the batteries die pretty fast, and there's no autofocus, all right? So with Canon, you're still gonna have great battery life potentially, and you're gonna have your autofocus, because the dual pixel autofocus still functions all the way in the 120 frames per second 4K. I think it's gonna ship in limited quantities, is the rumor, end of July or early August, in limited quantities. Realistically, you may not be able to get your hands on this camera until September. If you're in the market to buy a camera now, you're, I don't know what to tell you. Either get something cheap or rent and then get this, or go ahead and just get the Canon EOS R, which is still gonna be significantly more affordable. Right now you can find bodies at the EOS R for like $1,700, $1,800. That's amazing for what you get in that camera. I'm still very happy with mine. I don't necessarily think I'm gonna give up mine if I get the R5. I would probably just have them together. But the R5 sounds significantly better if you can afford it. It sounds like they're giving you everything that you could imagine wanting for the extra money that it's gonna cost. That being said, if it's over $5,000 or something, then that really is kind of a different price tier, and I would understand why a lot of people wouldn't get it and would still be getting the R. I leave you with that. If you guys want to follow along, I seriously give all kinds of tips and tricks on my editing and my filming techniques and the way that I approach my projects. I even do job shadows where I go out on my actual productions and I'm talking about what I'm doing while I'm doing it, teach you how to do an entire production workflow. And this is all really as a single person, which is a lot of people's scenario, especially if you're trying to learn off of YouTube. There's a good chance you might be a one-man operation, a one-gal operation. And if you have any comments to add to this EOS R5 discussion, by all means, let's have it. Go ahead and throw a comment below. I'm happy to talk about this camera. I'm very excited. I want to talk about it with somebody. All right, take care, guys. Peace.